Oh, okay. Now. Well, when I close my eyes, I can still see her standing there. Seaweed matted in her long gray hair. She wore a hooded robe and her skin was just a little greenish and a little dickish for her bones. If there were a horrible, despicable, unconsequential contest, why she'd be the queen with a heart as dark as Davy Jones, if you know what I mean. She had a nose that was half the size of her face, with a big hairy wart in just the right place, that when she spoke from her toothless mouth, the hair on the wart would just kind of flow from the north to the south. And if she didn't like you, she'd turn you into a goldfish. And with her evil magic, she always got a wish. She was a sea hag will place a curse on you. She was a sea hag will make you do what she wants you to do. Now, there's one thing that she left clean in her dirty trail of dust, and that is she had a pet bear. That's right, you heard me true, and me, I'm telling you, she loved that pet bear, and that pet bear loved her too. But the people of the town, they were tired of being turned into goldfish. They were tired of that evil sea hag always getting away. So the people began to mumble, and the people began to rumble. If there's going to be trouble, then the people would do what they had to do, and they decided right then and there the people were going to steal that sea hag's bear. She was a sea hag will place a curse on you. She was a sea hag will make you do what she wants you to do. Now, stealing a sea hag's bear might not be as easy to do as you think it's going to be. First, you got to get a cage big enough to carry the massive beast. And then you need chains large enough to hold him down till you get him to where you got to get him to go. And then there's always the problem of the sleeping sea hag, don't you know? But the people were so angry, I must say, that they took what they had and they stole that sea hag's bear anyway. Now, the very next day, when the sea hag found the loss of her pet, she placed a curse upon us that's with us all to this very moment yet. And that curse is as follows. From this day forward, may all the people be born with little bare bottoms. I gotta get a drink for this last story here. I'll tell you what we're going to do. That a girl, say "arr." That a girl, "arr." I'll tell you, I'm gonna tell you, you're brave. I'm gonna tell a scary story. You wanna hear a scary story? These are. How about you guys? You wanna hear kind of something different, a little different last story? I wanna hear about sea hag, huh? No, okay. All right. Well, to tell you the truth, I never liked it. Even though I met him years ago, still there was nothing new for me to know. I'd already heard all the stories about him, like the ones that says he's dead, or they cut off his head. His body swam around the ship 3 times. Oh, I've heard of all of his adventurous crimes. He was nothing more than a bully with a soul as blank as Beelzebub's eyes. And you can bet your sweet booty, and it should come as no surprise, I'm talking to you about Blackbeard the Pirate. One more time, and then I'm not going to give him any more attention. I'm not going to let him steal one more round. Now just let me crow on the beach. Divided the bounty with the beach. I was carrying me treasure on my shoulder, marching through a clearing in the woods like a soldier, like a man what had something to do. And I did too. I had a small fortune to hide. Now I don't mean to speak, but I sailed hard and fought strong for the prize we heaved and pulled along. We'd landed on an island close shore. Only I had been there before. 4 stars short of the brightest one, 5 more north of the southern midnight sun. It wasn't on any map. There was no way to prove it. I was right where I was at. Why, I was standing on it. If there were a perfect place to hide, then this would be the place. I thought to bury me treasure with a smile upon me face, on an uncharted island, in a place no one would be a-looking, a place no one would be a-finding, a place just like this place. Was wham! He rode over me like a boulder over a tree. He held me in a breathless bear hug from behind with a dagger in his fist and deep trouble on his mind. We hit the ground together with the sound of thunder. We started wrestling and rolling all over the ground till finally he hit the ground. He's holding me shoulders down. I took me legs, put him up on his shoulders, pushed him on his back. I watched as a giant of a man stood up from the ground. And I remember there was a giant of a man stood up from the dirt. And I remember thinking to myself, somebody's going to get hurt. And getting hurt and saying it lightly. Not only did he steal my treasure, matey, but he introduced the dead to me. We drew our cutlasses, both at the same time. He started laughing at me. Blackbeard, laughing at me. Redbeard. He was a man out of his mind. Crash, smash, slam. He knocked me cutlass right out of me hand. Once, twice, thrice. He cut the air. He smiled as he sliced. He started waving his long blade above his head and said, it all ends now. I picked up a rock and then I knocked the handle from his hand somehow. Now it all comes down to just he and I, fist to fist, ear to ear. I hit the man first with all my strength. Even though my arms were only half his length, still I knocked him all the way back into the bushes, the brambles, and the thicket, where he got all tied up in them, darling. Why, he couldn't even move a digit. But it was his beard. It was his long, dirty, blood-dreaded black beard. It was caught by its locks above his head in the trees. Then I drew me dagger from his sheath, wiped my eyes in disbelief. He looked like a fish, all ready to be filleted out there, just shaking in his boots and trembling in his fear. I limped up to him with my weapon held high. Don't do it, he cried. Why not, said I. You've always been a bully. I'll stop it, said he. I'll stop it, said he, I promise. I will never do it again, said I. Well, that just kind of changes everything then. I guess I'll just be a cutting you loose. And I did. At least I tried. But it was all for no purpose, honey. It was all for no use because it was his beard. It was his long, dirty, dreaded beard. It was still caught by its locks above his head in the trees. Now I'm a gentleman. I couldn't leave a man strangling, all hung up. I mean, I'd already beat the bully out of him. Come on, enough is enough. So, I took out my little dull, rusty knife, little rusty, dull knife. I cut off his beard right there. I cut off every last hair until he was entirely and completely loose. Oh, he was free. He was loose. He was loose. He was embarrassed. He was embarrassed, all right. He started running and crying till he's out of sight. Now, word has it that somehow, some way, he's so ashamed of himself, so very ashamed of himself, that he has retired and is living quite nicely and comfortably here in Florida today. Thank you very much. Arr. Arr. Let's take some pictures. You want to take pictures?